you can make $5,000 in a weekend.
Yeah. I'm the type of person that when I go into something, I go deep and hard into it.
Made a great video for my clients. They shared it on Facebook and it got like 3,000 views in the first week. The presentation is more than just the video.
Huge. I'm going to add this, and this to differentiate myself from every other videographer or photographer in the area. So then your price starts to go up. Hey everybody, and welcome to the Collective Cast. This is a podcast all about creativity that knows no bounds, creativity in any area of life. Meet my co-host Blake, myself Steve, as we take you on a journey of creativity. That's right. What do you got?
Yeah, what's going on, guys? Today, we are going to be jumping into the topic of wedding filmmaking. I think all of us may have a special spot in our heart for wedding films.
A lot of people in the creative field, especially video and photography, I guarantee they've likely had a brush with wedding filmmaking or wedding photography in some way.
Yeah, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, it's a toss-up for many people. But we're going to jump into it today, and we're going to kind of talk through whether you want to start wedding filmmaking or photography, kind of how we got started.
Yep.
Kind of the journey in that. And then we're going to go through some tips for all those people that are interested. And then we're going to kind of wrap up with why we no longer do wedding film.
We're not doing it. Well, maybe on occasion for special people, but that's it.
You have to be special.
So how did you get your start, or what even compelled you to want to even try it?
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned this on an earlier podcast, but for me, it was I was into filmmaking already. My cousin was getting married, and I went up to her and said, "Hey, can I film your wedding?" I knew it was something people did, and I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to truly practice my skills.
Yeah.
That were pretty small at the beginning.
Right.
Didn't have a lot, but yeah.
For me, it was a little bit different path. I didn't get into it until probably my mid-20s. The company that I was working for was doing some downsizing. Got let go from there. Got an incredible severance package, though. Oh, my gosh. That was great. Got to live off that for a minute. But basically, it was, hey, I need to do something. And at the time, I was watching these online training videos. They started blowing up kind of back then. Watching that and seeing other people kind of doing the wedding photography and filmmaking piece of things. And I'm the type of person that when I go into something, I go deep and hard into it. And it's like the kind of filmmaking and photography I wanted to do was on a luxury scale. Like I wanted to be that. I wanted to go in to even showing up to my client like appointments where I was just like putting them out there. I had my menu type thing of what I wanted or packages I had in this leather bound like thing. It was like super classy. I went all the way over the top. But yeah, that's how I got my start, was like seeing other people do it in these training courses, and it just made me be like, well, I can make money doing that. I know how to sell. I just got out of sales for a while. I know I can sell to people in wanting weddings, and then I'm hearing all these people and the giant amounts of money they're making from just working a couple days on the weekend and then editing. So I was like, I'm in.
I had maybe a little bit smaller version of that for myself. I recognized, and I saw the same kind of videos online, like you can make $5,000 in a weekend or whatever it was.
Yep.
You can make this much money. And I was at the age, I was like 15, 16. I'm like, well, why can't I do that?
Right.
Like I could totally do that. I definitely had the fake it till you make it mentality early on. And I honestly think a lot of people start there, or that's kind of what's almost needed to get into filmmaking, to get into this space, right? Unless
you have endless amounts of money sitting in the bank, you almost have to, like, no matter what, you got to use whatever you've got or whatever you have access to, and just trying to start building from something or from nothing, really.
Yeah.
And you just see what other people are doing and try to make it your own, and then just kind of lean into that.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and jump in, talk about, hey, like I'm interested in filming my first wedding, my second, whatever it may be. how do I actually, like, how do I get my first wedding? How do I get weddings after that?
Right. For me, I did everything that anybody would do to start. And so I was going to the wedding expos, setting up a booth and doing all that stupid stuff. And in the beginning, it's not stupid because you're trying to get your name out there. And then once you've kind of got that momentum of people coming in and you're doing a good enough job on your services and products, they're going to be recommending. And then from there, it's just word of mouth. And then
Yeah.
you've just kind of started the wheel. So it's getting that first piece going. For me, it was the expos. It was the signing up for things like the knot.com type of a thing and putting your ads out there to be
Yep.
like, hey, I'm wedding everything here.
Yep.
So that's kind of where I got my start, and that's what started the ball rolling.
Yeah, that's great. I feel like the expo kind of era was just before my
Yeah.
time. And a lot of the people I was watching were talking about that. But I think there's a shift now to more online,
Oh yeah.
obviously. For me, like I mentioned, it started with family. And really, I think that's one of the best ways to get started if you are wanting to get started is find a family member, find a friend. Within a 2-year period, I'm sure you can find someone, in your circle and just offer to do it for free.
Yep.
There'll be no expectations on you to
Right.
deliver a crazy product. And it takes the stress off of you and you can get your start.
Just give yourself that breathing room to learn.
Yep.
Because you don't know what you don't know until you're in it.
Yeah.
Once you're in it, I mean, yeah, you can watch all the training videos you want, but the feel of actually being in it is so much more nerve-wracking, especially if you're asking a big amount of money.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's exactly why I think you should do it for free starting. And we'll jump into pricing here in a little bit. But just a note on that is like, don't go in putting all this pressure on yourself to deliver by putting a high ticket price
Right.
on your first couple of videos.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big thing for me is just finding, like you said, finding friends and family. It's almost like the same amount of pressure as if you were getting paid from somebody because it's family. You're going to run into them again.
Yeah.
And so you have that pressure, but you don't have that same, it's not the same pressure, but there's like a pressure to be like, okay, I've got to make sure I perform because number one, they're my family. Number two, I want them to recommend me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your family can definitely be some of the best people to advocate for you starting out.
The other piece too that's kind of different now, I know that especially after COVID, the whole expo thing, you had to reinvent how you were finding your audience or finding your clients, right? But now with like social media and being able to put out clips and different things like that of weddings that you shot,
Yeah.
huge game changer from when I got started. Facebook was just rolling out, all that stuff was happening. I didn't understand it yet. Now I'm obviously in it deep, but that is a huge game changer. Being able to put your stuff out there in that way so people actually see a product and you're doing that frequently. They're like, oh, this guy's good.
Yeah.
He's busy all the time. He must be doing something right.
Yeah. Facebook groups are huge, guys. I'm sure there is a Facebook group for your local area. Wedding Facebook groups. Definitely find those. Start posting daily. Hey, this is what I do. Here's a couple examples. Like, here's kind of my rate. And I've seen a lot of people get success.
Yep.
You may not be making the amount of money you want to make because of the competition in that group. But if you're like, hey, I just want something to kind of cover my costs, maybe make a little bit of money, that's a kind of a great way to start. And then you can work your way up from there with the word of mouth. And I think that's definitely the biggest piece.
Huge.
Word of mouth will be the thing that makes your business work.
Yep. And then also like consistency in your posting, making sure that you're posting really quality pieces of basically art from that wedding. People are going to share that. People are going to be pushing that out to their sphere of influence to where it's like, okay, especially if there's like a story to what you're creating. Like you can put together a nice minute-long storyline of the day to where it's like capturing someone and pulling them in and they get that emotion. So they're like, I want to share this.
Yeah.
And you get that word of mouth thing rolling and it's just an avalanche after that.
Yeah, I saw a lot of leads and success and this is like the most simplest ways. I made a great video for my clients and they shared it on Facebook and it got like 3,000 views in the first
Dang.
week on Facebook. And just from that alone, there was so many comments like, this is so beautiful. This is so great. And then I had an influx of DMs
Yep.
asking, hey, like, are you open? Can you do this for me? So really, I think there's an aspect of targeting the bride.
Yep.
If you can present your couple and make a future bride feel like that's her in your video, like it creates that emotional, and they're pretty much willing to spend whatever to make that happen.
And that's the thing too, is like weddings are more about the bride than they are about the groom. And photos and video of the wedding is an emotional decision. So playing to that, and I mean, for so many brides, it's so awesome to be able to look back on that day. And if that day is done right with the right kind of photographer and the right kind of videographer, that memory and that piece for a lifetime is invaluable. Like you can't put a value on that. And so playing to that and pushing or leaning into that, like it's not selling a lie, because that's real. That emotion is real, and being able to look back and have that nostalgia of that moment, that's real.
Yeah.
So use that to your advantage, because it's not real. So you're not selling a lie.
Right. Exactly. Let's go ahead and kind of transition into like the biggest tips we have. And I have one right off the bat that we kind of started to hit on early on, and you mentioned this.
Yep.
The presentation is more than just the video.
Huge.
And so when you are delivering your final product, or when you're meeting with your couple for the first time, like you mentioned, you had that leather book,
Yeah.
right? And that creates an experience. And this is really what the couple wants to feel, is this experience. And so when I first started, I was literally USB drive, handing it
Yep.
in a package or sending it in the mail, whatever.
Sure.
Very low like experience value.
Yep.
Later on, when I started charging more, I would get this wooden box, and it
Yeah.
had like this like soft, I don't even know what the material is, but like the soft material on the inside,
Yep.
with a canvas bag with this wooden USB. And like I created this whole experience. And then
Yeah.
I would include some like dollar store candy boxes
Ooh.
and popcorn,
Yep.
and write a handwritten note. And basically I give them this unboxing experience.
Yeah.
So it's creating this emotional response before they even watch the video. So
Right.
they're opening it up. Oh man, candy. Wow. I can't wait. Like movie night. We're going to sit down and enjoy this.
Yep.
And then, wow, this handwritten note. And so I'm getting them to buy into this experience before they even experience the actual product of,
Right.
of the video.
You're creating this emotion before they actually watch it.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I found that even videos that maybe I wasn't as happy about how they turned out, and again, we'll be our biggest critics.
Oh, for sure.
So I don't put too much pressure on yourself. Always deliver to a high level.
Right.
But
Yeah.
your couple, if you do it to the best of your abilities, I believe your couple will enjoy that video,
Yep.
right? But just these extra steps that really don't cost,
No.
but
Yeah.
an extra $20-$30 of input really changed the response I was getting out
Yep.
of them.
Yeah, having that for my side of things, having that luxury feel for me was the kind of a big thing. So just like you, when I shipped out these packages to, or I met with them, either way, we had this glass USB drive that lit up when you put it in, and had the logo of our company plus the names of the person
Yeah.
that was doing it inside this, super soft leather case. But then that was inside of another case that had 2 champagne flutes. And so when we shipped them out, or when we had them in, we gave them a bottle of champagne, plus they had this package with the flutes in it. And so they could just sit down, enjoy the video while they're sipping on champagne, remembering that night, right? And so it's creating that, like you're saying, creating that experience to be like, ooh, this is a high class video. This is us. We are really getting the value that we paid for.
Yeah.
And so it's like creating that experience, because if all you do is hand them a CD, like from way back in the day with all your stuff on it, it's like, all right.
Yeah.
But you give them this classy experience to be like, you have a next level event here, so we want to treat it as such.
Yeah.
They just eat that stuff up, and that's the stuff right there that causes them to refer you.
Yes.
Like that experience is what does it. It's not the day.
Right.
Whatever happens on the day, they don't remember, okay? Because you're flying all around. But the product and the feeling at the end and in the beginning, that's the things they remember.
And they'll share it on social media. I know a lot of brides will like post a story of them opening up their packet. Like all of this is an ability to create free marketing for yourself just by using your customer. And so it just enhances your word of mouth.
Yeah. One of the big things that I did too that really pushed word of mouth for me is I delivered an on the day of the event photo album to the bride. And so we would shoot the whole wedding. And then as I was doing some quick edits on some of my favorite shots of that part of it, I would be doing that, and I had this mobile printer in my car. I'd print the photos out, and the album that we had this, you just peel off this thing and you just stick the photo in it. It was a really nice leather album, and you'd be able to flip through it right then. You'd have photos that night. Before they walked out of the reception, they had that book in their hand. Same with a quick wedding recap video, like a 1 minute, just a quick little recap, so they could be posting that to their friends. That type of stuff is super important to them because that's their day, and they're in that day. They want to share it that day. So it's like getting that to them is another thing that's like, I want all my friends to have this experience.
That's next level. Yeah. All these little things you can do, and it's really just in the prep more than anything, are going to just make you look better and make you more money. I know for me, just another thing was not every wedding filmmaker was doing this. I would go through the vows. If they were private vows, I would record the entire thing in its entirety, clip that, create its own video for the final product. And so that way in the final video, or the main video, I should say, it's a shortened version.
Right.
We don't have time to do 5, 6, whatever. Or like the first look with the father. All these really like just emotional moments that you can't give them the full time in the video, right? You'd have a hour-long video. All these things that I would later include, and then just kind of it took me like half hour to edit. It doesn't take any time, and it's just raw. Those kind of things just really make someone like feel the value. Yeah.
The one big thing you want to remember as a creative filmmaker, if you're in the wedding space, is what can I offer my client that is going to make them excited to have worked with me, and then ultimately tell all their friends about me? Because if you're in the mindset of, oh, here I gotta go and film this wedding again, get out of it. It's not for you. It's just not for you. But if you can go in and be like, I want to deliver something so incredible to my client, then you're in the right thing, for sure.
Yeah, and I think we'll talk about it, but like, it's not going to be for everyone. And if it's a season of your filmmaking career or hobby, whatever it is, like it's a great way to learn. And so let's jump into a couple more of these tips that we have for people going into wedding filmmaking and
on the day
of. And let's start with wear comfy shoes. Preach
At
it.
the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're coming into that reception and your feet are barking already. You're not going to deliver your best work if you're not comfortable. Like, look classy, but also be comfortable, because you are on your feet the entire day and you're moving.
I started out, I wore brown dress shoes with a heel. My ankles and my calves were so freaking tight. Worst experience of my life. It doesn't make you more it brings you down. Like, I don't even know how to explain it, but like your mood will drop, and then you're not giving your best to the couple, making them feel like celebrities because you yourself aren't right. So as far as like wearing comfy shoes, I recommend, wear something that isn't flashy per se. Like, I love my On Clouds. They're black. They're training shoes, but they're sleek and they don't stick out too much.
Yeah, the biggest thing is blend in.
Yeah.
The most you can is make sure that like when you're on the job, make sure that you're not doing anything to distract from. I mean, as much as you can, there's going to be little things that you have to do to get the shot or whatever, but do your best to try and stay inconspicuous.
Yep. And yeah, so wearing clothes that look professional, but again, you're there to work, so don't be afraid to wear something yet comfortable. I was wearing like Lululemon dress pants that are kind of that
Stretchy.
hybrid. Yeah, stretchy. So think about those things. A second thing is bring snacks. Like big mistake. I forgot food one time. I was dying, and you're not there to eat. You're there to work.
Yep.
And even when it is time to eat, and I would recommend just another tip: sign it into your contract that you get the food that the rest of the guests are getting.
Yep.
That's huge. Don't ever be pushed to sit in another room.
You're still a human.
Right. Yeah. So but make sure you bring snacks.
Even bring make sure you've got drinks, energy drinks, any type of thing to keep that energy up, keep that mood up. Make sure you're well rested from the night before. So many people are like, oh, I got a wedding tomorrow, but they'll go out and party. It's like, no, this is your job. Make sure you're ready for it, because it's just going to set you up for so much more success. You're going to be clear-minded. You're going to be thinking through your checklist that you have and making sure that you're getting everything you need, and you're not just coming in foggy.
Yeah, and a wedding is very structured to a point, but you need to find a way to be creative in that structure. Think on the fly, and if you're hungry, if your feet hurt, whatever it may be, you can't do that.
Yep.
Just a note to add to eating with the guests. I started putting this in my contract about 3 weddings in, because I realized how important it was. Be served the same food as the guests. This is just more so you're taken care of, so you actually get some food. You may not even have a lot of time to eat, because there'll be toast, there'll be speeches during the reception. So just make sure you get something in your system when you can. But this goes into, with those toasts and speeches, make sure that they account for you to be seated in the same room that all that's going on.
So that you can catch that stuff. Yeah.
I had one couple, and I don't think they meant to do this. They just didn't account for the photographer and the video team, all of us. And we were pushed outside into another room, and they were like, hey, there's speeches going on. And it's like, well, they told us to eat quickly.
Right.
And then, you know what I'm saying? So be sure that you think through those things, that you're always around the action.
Yep. Another thing to consider too there is maybe building a second shooter into your contracts, to where one of you can be eating quick while the other one's covering, just in case something's happening. But a second shooter for me towards this as I was building things up and growing into these things, that became so valuable to me, and the creativity that we were able to bounce off of each other and really create a better product, because we were both making and seeing things differently, right? So you just have a more wide gamut of creativity.
Yeah, I love that. And even if you're starting out, this was probably more fitting for me when I wasn't able to charge necessarily enough to cover a second shooter of a high caliber. I would bring in my fiance.
Yeah.
And she knew enough about a camera and enough that she could run a tripod camera, or just simple things like that take a little bit of stress off of you. She's great with working with the bride, fixing the dress, especially as a man. Where some of those things are, you don't want to be too intimate in fixing things in the set or whatever in the shot. Having a female, if you are a man, it just comes in clutch, and they see things that you don't see with the presentation and the clothing, all of that.
And the getting ready shots, it's so much less awkward for a woman to go in and be able to get these shots and make sure everything's where it needs to be as far as everybody concerned in the room. It's like, okay, we're gonna do this shot, but it's gonna be a shot where the wedding dress is coming up and like getting
Yes.
whatever. It's like those shots, having someone of the same sex in the room is just, it just goes off so much more natural because nobody's having to think about it.
And when it's the groomsmen and the boys, you know,
Yep.
like they're probably drinking or they're chilling, whatever it is, like you're able to so easily fit into that
Right.
vibe, and it brings that emotion out of them on camera, and they're more comfortable. They're not awkward.
Yep.
I think men can be very awkward on camera.
I think that's the big thing too. You just hit on something there. Is like when you get there, start to create that vibe with the groomsmen and the groom, and or the bride and the bridesmaids. Start to create that vibe with them. Chat it up with them. Get them feeling good with you, so that you almost blend in as one of the guys or one of the girls, so that you are. They feel more at ease with you because you're in it with them, right?
Yep. The best thing you can do is be a friend to them, make them feel like they've known you for their entire lives. That's when I found best success with my couples and have had the best time filming in general.
Right. So what about gear?
Yeah.
That's important.
Gear is really important.
Like making sure you're covered there. One of the biggest things for me as I was kind of in it and learning during mostly on the video side, but using a monopod. I did not see that coming, and I really didn't think too much about it, but the stability you get and the ability to just kind of, you're not holding your camera up all the time. It's like during especially the ceremony part of it, being able to just boom, lock it down and just hit record and grab a shot. Boom, move and lock it down, grab your shot. It's just, this was even before like gimbals coming out was a game changer for video and weddings. Like when those bad boys came in, it was nuts. But before that, having that monopod and just being able to, it was huge. Game changer for me.
Yeah, monopods are huge. I never stepped into that because I was mostly a one-man operation. And so my kind of setup was secondary cam on a tripod. I could easily move around and ran a lot of audio to that camera. And then my handheld was usually on a gimbal. And I was just almost always running with that or going to handheld.
Sure.
Just switching between the gimbal and handheld depending on the shot.
Yep.
Which worked for me. And I think there's an aspect of find what works for you.
Yes.
Don't overcomplicate things, but bring more than you need. I think that's something I learned early on. You don't want to be on a shoot running and gunning and realize I don't have this and this would save my life.
Oh, my card's full. What?
Right.
And I don't have enough. It's like, no, you need to make sure you have enough of everything.
Yeah, I think I had an experience of like, I have a video light that would have came in just a little bit. Like I didn't need a lot of light, but just like have something, right?
To give them that pop of light in
Right,
their eye.
would have been great.
Yeah.
And I didn't bring it because I'm like, I need to go lightweight and I was hurting. So it's finding that balance.
Yep.
So even if you just leave stuff in your car, it'll come in handy. But for me, I was running a sling bag, and I would have batteries, extra SD cards, mics, all of that stuff that I always had on me or in my pockets, and then my camera.
Yeah, that's the way to go. If you can make it happen in a small bag, it's going to be so much nicer for you. But like you said, having that extra equipment sitting in the car, make sure you have a checklist of gear. And that will ebb and flow as you continue on the path of growing your wedding, filmmaking, and photography business. But like making sure you have a list so that you're not forgetting things, because it will happen. If you don't create that system to make sure that you're prepared for the day, you're just selling yourself short on what you can actually create if you're not actually ready for the day.
Yeah, and there's an aspect of pre-plan. Show up early and know kind of your routes, know how you're going to move throughout the day, and like stow gear if you have to. I would do this. I would like set my bag over here in a strategic position because I knew I'm going to be running over here, but I'm going to have to do a quick transition. I don't have time to run to the car, grab everything, and then go. So always show up early, like survey the area, build almost like a battle plan for the day.
Yep.
How am I going to do this? What are the logistics? And then always be ready before you actually have to make the shot.
Right. And that preparation piece is huge too. You and I were talking just the other day about even if you haven't run cameras a lot, knowing your camera inside and out and what settings you need to have for being inside of the room, what settings you need to have for being outside on a sunny day versus a cloudy day. And it's preparation. So like a boxer doesn't just go into the ring having never boxed against anything, like no trainer, no bags, no nothing. It's like learn what you need to know before you actually get to the space that you're going to be doing things in. So even at home, it's like set up what it would look like, perfect exposure inside your house, and then run outside and do it on a sunny day. Set up a perfect exposure so that you know roughly where you need to be so that you're not missing a shot.
Yeah, I think settings are huge. And if you don't know your camera like the back of your hand, I hate that saying, really. Like, it doesn't really make sense.
Super, yeah.
You guys get what I'm saying. If you don't know your camera, you don't know how to shuffle through settings, if you don't go in and customize your buttons for quicker access,
Yep.
like you're going to be hurting on the day of, and you're going to miss shots. You got to be able to cycle through those things quickly.
Yeah, use your custom settings too.
Yeah.
It's like for when I want to do slow-mo, I've got a custom setting that I just flip to really quick. And I've got slow-mo set up. If I'm doing speeches, I need the audio. Boom, I got another custom setting that's set up for speeches so that I can get those things on the fly and I'm not having to go into the menus and be like, all right, now I want to do slow-mo.
Yep.
It's so much faster having all that stuff set up so that all you're having to do is just adjust a couple quick settings.
That's exactly what I would do. I'd run down, get in center aisle for the first kiss, grab that, and then I had a really great shot that the couples liked where they're walking down the aisle, and then I would switch to 120, slowed it down, and it's just like usually they have flowers, they're cheering. It's just like this super smooth, fun experience, and just having that dial already pre-set up, I would just switch it. I could grab that, no worries, no issues.
Yep.
And then I was just running out of the way, and it just made it so much faster.
Yeah, speed is the name of the game. Knowing your equipment is the name of the game, because if you want to be invited to the next wedding for their friends, all the groomsmen and bridesmaids, a lot of times they're still not married yet, and they're going to be seeing what you're doing and your speed and agility and the interactions that you have. Like all of these things create an experience for your future clients and your current clients.
Yeah, being professional gets you that next person that's watching. People are watching you on the day of.
Yep.
Even though you're supposed to be in the shadows. I've had so many people come up during the reception and just be like, hey, like, this is my name. We're getting married. And like, and that's a great way just day of to even get more business.
Right.
But hey, let's go ahead and start talk about let's talk about pricing.
The thing everybody always wants to know. What do you price your wedding at?
Yeah, right.
And that's the thing too, is like in the beginning, it's going to be different than as you grow. Because in the beginning, I obviously set my prices lower. I probably started at like $500 to $1,000, right, for the day. That included the edit, and that was about it. But as you grow and you start creating this experience, or you started creating this brand, it's like, okay, now I'm going to add this, this, and this to differentiate myself from every other videographer or photographer in the area. So then your price starts to go up. The other reason your price should start going up is if you've got a ton of your weekends booked out, that means that you're doing good and people want you. So maybe raise the price.
Yeah.
So you can get more value, or if you're giving more value, make sure your prices are reflecting that value. And then if you're getting more clients, there's only so many weekends in a year. Generally, they're on the weekends, and so you might have to bump your price up to be like, okay, now my value is here.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely a flow. It's a transition. And for me, I started out, like I said, I did family. It was basically free. They ended up paying me something.
Yeah.
They gave me a gift. Like, you almost always get something, even if you offer to do it for free. So like starting out, get those first couple under your belt without the expectations, and then roll in and start actually making money. I kind of transitioned from free to like $500. And then you also got to account for, you have expensive gear. So they're not only paying for you, your skills, your edit, your time, your travel, all of that, they're also paying for your access to your gear. And so there is an aspect of that needs to come in play when you are pricing out your packages.
And
then,
business expenses like insurance.
yeah, all of that.
Like you have to insure that gear. That ain't free. So it's
Right.
like, what is that value? You got to add all these different value points into what you're charging the client. So even on top of that, it's like you're also marketing yourself. So you're paying for marketing for yourself. On top of everything, there's got to be. It's not just the hours of the day, and that's something really difficult to convey to a client. Is like, yeah, you only see us here, but there's so much more that goes into what we do and how we got here.
Right. And then accounting for any of the extra, the packaging, all that stuff that we've talked about. Think about all those things. So I kind of grew, and then I kind of hit around the $1,000 mark. And I did have a voice in my life that isn't probably the most, I don't want to say business savvy, but they kept pushing me to just be like, well, isn't it better to make some money than charge too much and get a client that says no? And so I stuck around the $1,000, $2,000 mark for way too long. I would say more so like low 1,000, 1,200, and wasn't really getting paid what I was worth. And it really took me looking at kind of the competition, and I realized like this person that I'm making a very similar product to isn't even putting voiceover like audio in.
Right.
Like it's literally like a music video. There's a song and then just the clips, and that's all they're doing. And I know for a fact they're charging over $2,000. And I'm like, why am I going to sit around here and get paid way less than them when I'm actually recording audio and having voiceovers in my videos? So that really flipped the switch in me. I was like, wait, I got to do something about this. And I jumped up to 3,000.
Yep.
And I just,
and you still kept getting clients.
yeah, I had
That's the crazy thing.
So like the first time I'm like, the client came to me and they're like, hey, how much do you charge? And so it's like that. You're like your heart starts racing,
You're like,
and you're just like,
tell them?
You're like, oh, I'm so
It's like we don't value our own.
Yeah,
our own
like
stuff.
you gotta value, and I feel like if you deliver that with confidence, they will buy into it. So I just said, I charge 3,000 for the day. That's my full day, and they said, okay, we'll talk about it. And they went out of their way to make budget for me because that's how bad they wanted the video.
Yep.
And they paid me, and they loved the video, and it was great, and I made money, and it was totally worth it.
Right. And the other thing too to remember as you're presenting your pricing is to also show them the value of what it is that you're doing and the package and the things that they're getting. Make sure you're explaining those things because that also starts to bring value to them, and they want to see that value. They've seen you likely working either in a space at somebody else's wedding or was referred by somebody. So that word of mouth value is already there. Now you're just kind of bringing in, here's all the great things you get working with me.
Yeah. So what was your typical rate?
By the time I was in the biggest swing of things and all the things I was delivering, if it was just video, I was between $4,000 and $5,000. If we were doing photo and video, we were all the way up to $75,000 to $8,000 for the day.
Yeah. And I would say there is a lot of opportunity to package both.
Yep.
Some people want all-in-one. I only have to communicate with one person, right? And that's a great opportunity. Something I did early on was create relationships with photographers. So I found a photographer that was actually almost like a mentor to me for a period of my time that was doing photography. They didn't do anything with video, but they're like, hey, I'll get you into this wedding I'm shooting next weekend, and you can film a video. Yeah. And so like those kind of relationships where you guys are referring each other can also grow you pretty quickly.
Huge. That piece there is big. I mean, even getting in with venues or, dress shops, different things like that. There's so many. Everybody that supplies something to a wedding, get in somehow with them, and you'll be referred all over the place. Because if you go into a dress shop, make them a quick video and say, hey, make me one of your preferred vendors that you kind of talk about with your clients as they're coming in looking for a dress. You make a sick dress shop video for them, and they can post that. It's like, okay, now we've got this mutual relationship to where you're giving me clients and I'm creating a cool product for you.
Had something exactly like that with a wedding barn. You know, I
Yep.
filmed a wedding there. They saw the video. They're like, "Hey, can you make me a promo video?"
Yeah.
Made some extra money off of that, and then that just created a relationship. And then they sold the barn, and I lost that relationship. But
So we've got all these great stories about how everything was super awesome, super fun. We were making tons of money, but why aren't we doing it anymore?
yeah, why aren't we doing it anymore?
Why aren't
Well,
we?
there's a few reasons.
Yep.
I think early on, you will discover if it is for you or if it's not.
Yep.
Wedding filmmaking is not for everyone. Do I think almost everyone should give it a try? Will it teach you a lot? Heck yeah.
Yep.
Do it. But you will find out very quickly if it's not for you. So let's go ahead and jump in to our personal reasons.
For me, it was rough to give up so many weekends. Like a majority of your weddings are happening Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and sometimes I would shoot all 3 days. So it'd be like you'd knock out this big chunk in 3 days, but it's like, I just gave up another weekend. And come summer here in Minnesota and like the northern states, is like summer doesn't last very long. And after being cooped up in your house through winter and everything like that, now I'm giving up my weekends on the summer. It's like, I don't want to do that. So time was a big thing. As far as clients go, I was pretty good at being able to select the right client because you have those bridezillas that are just tough to work with, and it doesn't matter how much you're getting paid, it's still not enough for you to have to deal with those types of clients. So there were one or two of those where I was like, ugh. And that kind of pushed me. That was even towards the end, because as you get into these higher value weddings, they become more bridezilla-ish. And so that was tough. And so I was just like, that didn't help in me wanting to continue to do it. So yeah, and it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Like the pressure was huge, and that starts to wear on you because you only get one shot to make this happen. And if you miss something, you missed it. Like they're not going to redo the wedding for you to make sure you get the right shot. So there's just a lot of pressure on the day. It's super stressful. It's running nonstop, and it's your weekend. So if you've got another regular job, day job type thing during the week, I was fortunate enough to, by the time I was making that bigger money, not to have the day job stuff, and I was doing other things anyway. But if you don't have that and you're doing that and you're giving up your weekends, it starts to get draining.
100%.
For me.
Yeah, for me, it was more so about the creative aspect. I got into video because I enjoyed making fun videos with my friends and being creative and making video about things I enjoyed. When I started doing it in a very confined space, I felt like I wasn't really pushing the creative envelope, if that makes sense.
Yep.
I think there's a danger for anyone that's in the creative world if they are no longer pushing the creative envelope. And so I think we become stagnant and we're not growing and we're not becoming more creative. And so it gets very repetitive. I found that I could show up to a wedding tomorrow. I know my processes. And yeah, I can go make money doing it. Like I don't want to remove the fact that it's a great way to make money. And so if you enjoy the money that comes from it, heck yeah, go keep doing that. There's other ways to use creative talent and make money and probably more money. And I wanted to pursue those because I'd show up, do the same thing, go through the process, but I'm kind of just staying, like my videos weren't progressing because it's not what my heart was in.
Yeah.
And every bride just kind of started to become the same. And I don't mean this in a negative way.
Well, I mean, even to your point, is like, for you, that's how it was. There may be people that enjoy that. I want to get into a rhythm. I love making a bunch of money. Then this is 100% for you.
Yeah.
Find your rhythm. Find a way to like capitalize on and make it efficient for you. And if that's your type of rhythm and you like to invent your creative process and then just stick to it, this is it.
Yeah, 100%. And I don't, exactly. We're not saying that it's not a great, like,
right.
I think we both have respect to that part of that's what really got us here. Mm-hmm. It's a part of it. You'll learn things in that industry that you can't learn other places.
Yep. But then there's going to be some people that, like you said, is like, I want to grow into something bigger or different or whatever. It's like, I've done what I'm going to do here. And now I'm gonna go try something else.
Yeah, and for me, it was branding, marketing, advertising. That's what I started to fall in love with. And so I wanted to bring my creative skills into those things,
Right.
pursue those, go on adventures, create adventurous videos, and tell a story that way.
Yep. And that's huge. That's the big thing is like, but the things that we learned in telling a story through weddings now translates into telling bigger stories for different brands, different companies, different things like that. Like, just like you said, is like that time that we spent doing that, it's super valuable. Like, I learned so much about client interaction. I learned so much about thinking on the fly and creating different things. Because, I mean, the big thing is unless you're shooting in the same spot every wedding, you're going to have different creative things you got to figure out within your formula.
Right.
So there's little things like that. But again, yeah, for me too, it was just, I want something bigger and different. And so that's kind of why I eventually just said, I'm good.
Yeah. And my challenge to anyone that is currently in the wedding world or is still doing it or wants to do it, maybe find a way to push the envelope a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like the wedding video industry has been pretty stagnant and it's been the same. I mean, we could compare my first video to probably your first few videos.
Right.
I'm sure we'd see similarities throughout. And obviously there's a structure in a wedding, but like find a way to make it different and grow this.
Yep.
Like, I would love to see the creativity come back. But for me, my creativity was going other places.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly where I was too. That was incredible.
I love that.
That was so much information we just threw out there, and I think too we can dive into different things deeper in later episodes. But for this one, it was there. It is for our wedding experience, how we kind of got started, how we made our systems and processes happen, equipment, pricing, all of that stuff, and how we kind of got to those places, and then ultimately how we found, for us specifically, we wanted different things. And again, we don't regret what we did. Like, so much was learned there, but it was just time to cruise into something else. So we just want to say thank you for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can know when we are going to be dropping or when we have dropped another video.
And if you are listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, be sure to give us a 5-star review and let us know what you liked and maybe what you'd like to see in the future. Thank you so much, guys.
Also, don't forget, as he's coughing,
Sorry.
don't forget in the comments below, ask questions. We'll keep monitoring that stuff and maybe answer it in the next one, or we'll comment back with different things if you had any questions about everything we talked about.
We love you.
Peace and love.